Hello everyone. In 2002 I was standing outside London Waterloo Station. I was living briefly in London as part of a kind of extended sabbatical year before going on to work in Scotland for the Iona community. And I thought I knew my way around reasonably well, having been there for a little while. And someone walked up to me, obviously thinking I looked like I knew what I was talking about, and asked me which bus to get on to go in a certain direction. I don't even remember where it was. And I quite confidently said to them, you need to go across the road and stand at that bus stop over there and get the number, whatever it was, and that'll take you, exactly in that direction. And they, well, thank you very much, and that's great, and so on. And the bus arrived, and the person got on and went off on the bus, even waved to me out the window, and I waved back cheerily. And as the bus was heading off, I realized it was the right bus, but they were on the wrong side of the road, and so they were going in exactly the opposite direction to the direction they'd intended. Now, I very much doubt that person will ever watch this video, but if they do, I'm very sorry. I don't know how serious or significant it was that I sent you in completely the wrong direction, but there you are. 18 years later, I don't feel tremendous guilt, but I do know that I was really sure about something that was completely wrong. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Well, we've had that expression in the English language since the 1600s, and there are variations of it in all kinds of other languages. It does what it says on the tin. Don't put all your trust in one place. Don't put all your investment emotionally, materially, in one particular basket. Well, I want to say a few things about that this morning. One of those is that this morning, 10 years ago, I woke up, and for the first full day in what will be, I hope, the rest of my life, I was in a relationship with Rebecca, who's now my wife, and is just a gorgeous, wonderful, incredibly helpful woman for me in all the way that I go about being myself, and who puts up with me and even enjoys it. The other side of not putting all our eggs in one basket, though, is that we have to be careful who we listen to and who we trust. So just the day before yesterday, we had the esteemed President of the United States telling us that we should, the scientists should seriously think about somehow internally administering disinfectant. If it works on your hands, why not just put it inside? And also bright light. The bright light would definitely kill the virus, and we should do something about that and shine the lights. It sounded like he was saying so strongly on our skins that it actually goes into underneath and kills the virus in those kind of places. I don't know quite how you shine a light into your lungs, but anyway, I don't think he thought about it that much. And I joked yesterday on Facebook, incredulous that he even said that. That I wouldn't be surprised if yesterday our government press conference had that Barry Scott character shouting at us that we should all be injecting Sillet Bang into our lives. Bang, and the bug is gone, something like that. I don't know. Of course, very few people will take Donald Trump's scientific word on coronavirus, and then yet we hear yesterday through the Guardian that Dominic Cummings, who is a very shadowy figure in our government's life in terms of what he does with the beliefs that we do know about and the kind of ideology that he does have. And the extent to which that influences government, is somehow consulting the government's strategic scientific panel. Somehow he's involved in that as a complete layman, who I'm sure knows nothing about epidemiology, about virology, about respiratory medicine, any of those things. We need to be careful who we trust and why. Today I'm wearing one of my used to be favorite, but is sort of ironically favorite t-shirts, and I'm going to show it to you. So it's a map of Yorkshire, right? And you can see that York is here, and there's Harrogate, and then Ripon, and then quite incomprehensibly Lickley, which I suppose is supposed to be Ilkley, but is in completely the wrong place. The great thing is that get this right. These are mountains over 700 meters and over 500 meters, and apparently directly south of York there's a 700 meter mountain. It's astonishing. And then below that a 500 meter mountain. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. There you are. Now, when you buy a t-shirt from a company called Mountain Warehouse, who supposedly, and well actually do sell, at least sort of middle of the range in terms of seriousness outdoor gear, you'd expect them to get the basics of a map on a t-shirt of Yorkshire, more or less correct, without confusing, a glacial moraine with a 700-meter mountain just south of York, wherever that is. I need to go looking for it. I need to find some more hills to ride my bike up and down for a start. This is quite a helpful map. I joke, of course. Who do we trust? Who do we trust? Who do we trust at the moment in terms of the science of coronavirus? Who do we trust in terms of our economics? Who do we trust to tell us the truth, I guess? Who do we trust to admit to us that they don't know exactly what to do, and that all of us, and especially those who are making very significant decisions about our lives, are all doing so on the basis of, at best, theoretical modeling and science and sociology and policing and politics and economics and medicine that are new. There's a lot of not knowing around. And so, who do we trust? I guess that's for you and I to decide. It's a bit like a Brexit referendum or a political election. You get to decide who you trust. And I suppose perhaps the question isn't so much who do we trust, but why do we choose to trust those people? What is there in what they say, or our willingness to believe what they say, that makes us want to go along with them? Now, I am absolutely not this morning suggesting that we should be openly suspicious of everybody, or that we should sit back and part of, if you listen to my reflection or watched it on Thomas, on Doubting Thomas, in the course of Holy Week, or beyond, I'm not for a moment suggesting that we should be openly untrusting unless we have great swathes of incontrovertible evidence in front of us in any direction in our lives. Trust is in many ways an emotional response. Trust isn't just someone convincing us of an intellectual argument or the stacking up of a set of truths, or at least theories that make some sense to us. Trust is more than that, because trust involves a willingness to make ourselves in some ways vulnerable, or go along with the choices of another human being, or another group of human beings, a government, a community, a church, even a family. Maybe one of the things that this coronavirus time is giving you and I the chance to reflect on is what the basis is of our ability or willingness to trust other people. To trust other people. And whether that is because they say the things we want to hear, or because they say the things we need to hear. Whether they have sufficient integrity to have us take them seriously, and where we place our trust in that. What are the signposts in our lives for someone who has integrity? Is it someone who always gets things right? Is it someone who is the most convincing in terms of the way they speak or act? Is it somehow about, as I said a little while ago, talking about Matt Hancock and a press conference I watched with our health secretary, Matt Hancock, in it? Is it about sincerity? Maybe that is, in some ways, the most important thing right now. Even if people are sincerely wrong, well, we need to trust that at least they believe that what they're saying is the best and most effective and most helpful thing to either believe or do or communicate to us. Trust is a deep, deep question for many of us. Many of us have had experience in our lives that has left us struggling to trust, or wary in our ability or our desire to place too much of our lives into the hands of any other person or any other group in society. Who do you trust? Why do you trust them? What makes them trustworthy? And what is it about them that makes you want to trust them? Makes you need to trust them even? One of the things that happens in our politics is that people bash each other all the time over the things that they've said that may or may not be true, that may or may not be mistakes that they've made. Trust is essential in our politics. And it seems like a huge amount of energy goes into telling us why we shouldn't trust the other, which is different from saying why you should trust us or trust me. I've had the real privilege through all of my ministry of having people place their trust in me in some way. Sometimes as strangers, in a hospital room when somebody's dying, in the course of arranging a funeral, especially a tragic funeral, where someone has died young, or in circumstances that none of us would ever choose for our worst enemy, whoever we thought that person might be. I've had the privilege of being trusted because I have a collar on, because I am a minister, because I am me. I've also had the experience of not being trusted because I was a minister, because I was represented something that people had been hurt by, or had just chosen to caricature and put aside as mumbo jumbo and sort of hopeful, infantile nonsense in the midst of all the rational truth of our world. So today, I will not be going to Lickley, and I will not be able to go and look for the 700-meter mountain just south of York. That mountain warehouse, tell me on my t-shirt, is definitely there to be explored and to be found and to be celebrated. In fact, the whole map of Yorkshire has a lot of contour lines on it, doesn't it? And in fact, it's quite a lot of it is pretty flat, especially around York. Who do you trust? Why do you trust them? Do you trust yourself? In what? With what? Towards what ends? Trust is a massive part of our willingness to engage in society. The extent to which we trust people is something that needs to be tested consistently, perhaps with a degree of caution and suspicion, but also needs to be tested because we are willing to extend our trust into places we don't yet have proof that it might be wise to do. Who do you trust? What does trust mean to you? And what do we make sense of? How do we make sense of trust in this time when all of us are in the midst of something very new? And we listen to those who have expertise in parts of what it means to be in lockdown together, and parts of what it means to come out of that, and parts of what it means to take part in society by being obedient to rules that are not easy for us because they are foreign to our culture and the way we've gone about being ourselves and the freedoms we've had in the past. I'll shut up now. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, it's a good saying. It's a bit clumsy because sometimes, like I said, when I got together with Rebecca, I very definitely did put all my eggs in one basket. And I'm glad I did. And I hope you're glad that you've done that at times in your life. And I hope that thinking about the reasons why you do or don't do that in all kinds of directions, and who we listen to and how we listen to them and what we invest in that's fruitful for you and fruitful for me through this time. So happy Saturday. Hope you have a great day. And I'll be back again tomorrow with a bit more churchy reflection because it's Sunday. And for those of you who might be interested, the church is still gathering. We gather online. We gather online at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. If you want to join in, I need your email address in order to be able to invite you into that. And you can take part in whatever way you like, in a simple conversation, a little bit of music, and some shared prayer. So, might see you there, might not. But if not, have a good Saturday.